It's been a huge past week here at Marketing AI Institute since we just wrapped up MAICON, our Marketing AI conference. The event was our biggest yet by far. We had 700 plus incredible marketers and business leaders coming together in Cleveland, where we are based, to share, collaborate, learn, and grow together. And we actually had a spectacular lineup of speakers. We're going to mention a couple of them in a minute. We had 2+ days of incredible content. And, I, for one, at least experienced plenty of world-class conversations and connections with some of the top people in a number of different industries across AI, marketing, and business. So as one of our topics today, we wanted to go through some of the highlights here, in the process, both kind of create some value for anyone who couldn't attend and kind of share some of what was shared at MAICON, and just really give our audience an idea of why this is such a unique event in the industry. So to kick that off, Paul, this year was somewhat different than past years. It was our biggest year yet. I want you to maybe give us a sense of the context of what made 2023's MAICON so special and so different from previous years.
It definitely felt different. I think from the very beginning, we did the workshops on day one.
Hmm.
You did the applied AI workshop. I did the strategic AI leader workshop. Mine had like 150 people in it. I think yours was probably close to 100 people.
Yeah.
So the last year's event total, the 2022 conference had 200 at the entire conference, and we had over 250 in the optional first day workshops. So just immediately, it was a different level of attendance, certainly engagement. I think for me, the biggest change this year, well, there was a lot of them, but one of the biggest ones was I feel like up until this year, everyone just looked to us for the answers. Like
Mm.
the things weren't happening that much in the industry without them trying to find the answers from us. And this was the first year where I felt like everyone was out in the frontier experimenting. That what happened with ChatGPT and generative AI as a whole just opened up the use of these tools to the masses. And so everyone there, all 700 plus people, were engaged in experimenting themselves and wanting to share and wanting to learn from each other. So it just felt like a community all of a sudden, like a
Mm.
truly engaged group of people, group of peers who were all working to solve for this. So that was the one thing. And it really felt like the early days of inbound to me. So,
Yeah.
I think everybody listens to this show knows we were HubSpot's first agency partner back in 2007. And before I built and sold that agency, or Mike worked at that agency with me for a long time. In those early days of the inbound conference, it was just this amazing community feel. All the partners were working together, collaborating with each other, sharing ideas and frameworks and templates. And that's what this really felt like to me. It felt like the beginnings of a really valuable community of peers. um, the other thing that jumped out to me was the responsible AI theme, which I absolutely built into the agenda. Like I wanted that theme to come through, but it really came through way more than I expected. It was almost like every speaker had that integrated into what they were saying. Everyone you met there seemed to be all working toward that same direction of trying to find a human centered way to do this stuff. There was no like feeling of this is a bunch of cheap tricks and shortcuts to just do marketing more efficiently and make a
Mm.
bunch of money. There was not a single person I talked to I felt like was there for that reason. Like, how do we just, take shortcuts and stuff? Um, and then the other thing that just kept emerging to me, it was like, I didn't meet a single person where I felt there was any ego whatsoever. Like, it didn't matter if it was, the top speakers at the event, attendees who were wildly accomplished. We had major brands there, like leaders from big companies. Nobody seemed to feel they were better than anybody. Like
Mm.
it was truly just about collaboration and learning and sharing.
Mm.
So it was a really special time for me. I mean, for me and you. I mean, this goes back a long time. We've been working on this idea of trying to create this community and bring people together because we saw AI transforming everything. And I feel like this was the moment where all started to click. Like everyone else was on board and helping move in that direction. And now it just feels like it's just gonna, really snowball from here because now everyone is experimenting. I feel like next year we're gonna have a groundswell of speaker submissions of amazing stories of people
Mm.
trying to figure this stuff out. Um, So yeah, I mean, that was my take. How did you feel about it? Like, what did you think of last year versus this year?
Yeah, very similar in the sharing how to get to solutions instead of expecting answers. We often, after every talk, get tons of questions, rightly so, like about how do I solve for this or how do I solve for that or what tool should I use? Those are all really valuable, and I want people to keep asking them. But I definitely saw more diversity of people actually being able to exchange information and insight with each other to solve that for themselves. And I think especially it came out to me during the workshop. The workshop I ran, Applied AI for Marketers, was designed to walk people through over several hours a framework of how to get at high priority AI use cases. And when we all came together at the end as a group, the discussion was incredible. I was a little worried because I just expected there was a chance people would just ask me, okay, how do I go solve for every single use case? I don't know how to solve for every single use case. However, 85% of the conversation was people in the audience sharing with each other and saying, oh, you had that use case. Here's a couple tools that do that. Here's what we're looking at. And it was insanely valuable to have that kind of cross pollination of ideas and solutions.
Yeah, it really was. It was cool. Ours was the same with the strategic leader workshop. Is that one's more problem based, and you always worry people aren't going to want to stand up and share
Yeah.
strategic secrets or competitive stuff. But I mean, we had tons of people standing up, sharing. Here's the problem I'm looking at solving. Here's how I'm thinking about it. Let other people saying, yeah, I got the same problem. So again, just truly collaborative and pretty beautiful to see. Actually, I mean, just how it all kind of emerged. Yeah, it was really exciting.
So I did want to ask you, we had dozens of incredible speakers, but maybe could you share a few of the highlights of some of the main stage people, who they were, kind of just to show the diversity of people and topics that we brought together in this past week?
Yeah, so the way this event comes together is I largely own kind of the agenda and the speakers and the story. So the way I plan events, and again, it's weird. Like I've been doing this now for 5 years. I never thought of myself as an event person until like I was driving in Tuesday, like heading downtown because we're like 10 minutes from the convention center where we live, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm kind of an event person now. It's like 5 years of doing this. So the way I think about a conference is I try and think of the story that I want told and like what are the key themes that need to come through. So certainly ethics and responsible AI was a critical theme. I wanted what is going on at bigger brands. How are they thinking about it? I wanted people who are actually building AI councils and roadmaps. Like I wanted, and then obviously use cases and tools and case studies and things like that. But you want this diversity of perspectives, but you want it to be kind of a cohesive story. So right off the bat, you can actually see it because I did the state of AI in marketing and business, and I just kind of laid the groundwork with 10 things people should know about what's going on. And at the core of that was large language models. One, what they are and their importance. I said LLMs are the new CRMs, not in function, but in foundational importance to marketing, sales, and service. Um, that LLMs are just getting started, but they're the foundation for what comes next. And we talked about AI agents and multimodal training and all these other things that are going to happen. And it kind of set up, then Christopher S. Penn came up and went deep on large language models, how they work, what the opportunities are, bunches of use cases. And it was perfect to just kind of teed everybody up because I wanted them to understand large language models at a more fundamental level because the rest of the conference would make much more sense if you understood that. So that was great. We had Dan Slagan did an amazing from tomorrow.io CMO on the future org chart and in marketing and what teams look like. And the beauty there was he doesn't know, like, and he was straight up
Mm.
saying that, like, this is what we're thinking. And he showed these amazing frameworks and like a report card to grade where you're at. I thought was beautiful. Um, but he was showing this is what we're doing. And next year it might look different, but this is where we're at today. You had Megan Keady Anderson from Jasper did an amazing talk on the transformation we're going through in marketing strategy. Day one ended with probably the highlight for me with Professor Ethan Mollick from Wharton School of Business, and Beyond the Obvious, and it was just a fireside chat I did with him, and it was amazing. Like
Mm.
I could have sat there and talked to him for 3 more hours. I had people texting me afterwards, like, "Dude, I would have stayed for 3 more hours if you would have kept going." Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of attendees didn't know Ethan, like weren't aware of his writing, his One Useful Thing newsletter and blog. but I can almost guarantee you everyone in that room is a subscriber after that 45-minute conversation. It was just mind blowing. Like, it really was an incredible talk. And then Cassie Kazarkov, the chief decision scientist at Google, started day 2 with whose job does AI automate, and her thinking versus thunking analogy. Um, if you know what thunking is, look it up. It's a cool concept. We had a Building the Future panel with Gary Service from Insight Partners and some of their portfolio companies. We had Jessica Ria from VMware go deep on how they're building their marketing AI council internally. We had the CMO perspectives panel, and then Olivia Gamblin ended with an ethics and AI talk. So those are just some of the main stage, but you can get a sense of the themes of the conference through those talks. And it's very much by design which talks were selected, which speakers were selected, and then how it flowed throughout. So like, I wanted the conference ending on the ethics part, the more human part. It was very important to me that that was what people left with thinking about. So yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. Like, building an agenda and getting all those speakers is a challenging thing, and to see it come together and to see the impact it had on people is a really special thing. And just the early ratings are like through the roofs. Like, the speaker ratings were incredible. So yeah, I mean, just amazing. Like, all the talks were incredible. Tons of breakouts. You did a super popular breakout. I think yours was actually the highest rated. The 45 tools in 45 minutes. People love the tactical thing. Just endless amounts of incredible content. And I can't wait to do it again next year.
Yeah, same. I'm already pumped. Yeah, as we wrap up here, I did want to just share a couple of my quick takeaways. These are by no means comprehensive, and I tried to pick ones that, I think actually will resonate even if you weren't at this particular session or keynote, or if you weren't at the event. But you had mentioned, Paul, during your keynote, as part of many, many really important reminders, that no matter how fast you think things are moving today, no matter how many advancements we've talked about every single week on this podcast, you said, quote, "This is the least capable AI you will ever use." And this being in reference to every tool, every model, every technology you use today. That could be a little scary, but I also found it exciting because I don't think this technology is slowing down. We're seeing it accelerate. So I'm very excited for what positive use cases there could be moving forward. I think there was a helpful reminder to people, though, that this stuff is moving fast. You can't just sit still. Another takeaway I got was from Christopher S. Penn's keynote. Chris actually shared, I love just this framing, is thanks to large language models, everyone is a developer. Everything is now software, and every word is now an opportunity. I found that kind of really empowering, especially as someone with a writing, not a coding background. That was awesome. And he also just gave some incredible breakdowns of what could be coming next. I won't get into all of it, but one thing I really enjoyed is he was talking about LLM's possible impact on unbranded organic search, and the fact that we may not see nearly as much unbranded organic search as people increasingly turn to conversational search experiences. And he offered some actual ways to defend against that. And I won't go through every single one, but number one is build your brand. The way you get into models is being mentioned more on the internet. In a lot of ways, we might be going back to some more traditional PR and kind of link building, or being featured on certain interviews, podcasts, media appearances, et cetera, as a way to get in front of more people and therefore more models. And I also, Ethan Mollick's obviously had probably per minute just hundreds of takeaways, but I did love his really practical advice for how to get started with AI, which I'm even going to try to be adopting more and more, is instead of, if you've done nothing with AI or you're struggling to kind of get traction, don't worry about applying 18 different tools to your workflow just yet. Invite one AI tool into everything you do. He gave an example of like, look, just throughout your entire day, every single action you're taking, every single thing you're trying to accomplish, use, for instance, ChatGPT, or try to use it. It won't work for everything, but you'll quickly start relying on this as almost like an assistant or a colleague. And you're going to really get deeply masterful with these tools really, really quick by doing that.
Yeah, I will. I don't want to make this a big promotion at all, obviously, but we get asked all the time, is it recorded? So
Yep.
we did record all the main stage sessions. There's like 15 main stage sessions, and that is available on demand. There's a cost associated, but if you go to maicon.ai, so MAICON.ai, there is an on-demand package, and um, MAICON 2024 tickets are going on sale this week. So it'll be September 10th to the 12th in Cleveland, 2024. So if you missed out this year and you want to be there, we're coming back bigger, bigger, and better than ever. I don't know how big. We were planning for 12 to 1500, go to 700 to 1500. I had a lot of attendees tell me that's not enough, that
Hmm.
they're going to bring, I had a number of people come up and say, I'm bringing my whole company next year. We're bringing 20 people from our department next year. So it definitely resonated with the audience, and we'll figure out how big we can go, next. I, again, don't have the brain power for that at the moment. I'm going to hopefully regroup later this week and start thinking about that, but definitely bigger and better next year. If you weren't there, we would love to have you there next year. So save the date, September 10th to the 12th in Cleveland again.